Hi, it's Rabbi Orlofsky. Welcome to the Parsha in 5, where in 5 minutes we try to give you an insight into the Parsha, or now the Parshiyot. Because there's 2 Parshas, Matos and Masei. Sometimes they're split, sometimes they're together. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Anyway, so Matos-Masei is together this year. So we should really take a theme that extends to the 2 of them. So they capture all of this land on the, in what is today called Jordan. And the Bnei Reuven, the Bnei Gad come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they say, well, this land is cattle country and we have a lot of cattle. So we'd like to stay here and not get Eretz Yisrael. Seems a little strange. But they understood that this land was going to be divided up among the Shvatim, and they saw in it divine intervention that we obviously were given cattle country and we were given an unusual amount of cattle, more than everybody else. So obviously, put 2 and 2 together. So that's the idea, cattle country. There's a very strange midrash that says the following. Reuven, during the time of the Ktsir Chitim, went and saw the Dudayim by the side of the road and picked them for his mother because they were good for fertility, and he knew that she was trying to have more children. And that's what it means, Chanoch lenar al pi darko. If you educate a child, then even when he gets old, he'll keep it up. What does that mean? So the Bnei Reuven said, we will not go to Ever Yarden, we'll take this land over here. A strange connection. He picked the Dudayim and he takes Ever Yarden. What's the connection over here? In Parshas Masei, when we set up the Ari Miklat, where a accidental murderer goes, we put 3 of them in Ever Yarden for 2.5 tribes. And we put the other 3 in Eretz Yisrael proper for 9.5 tribes. Why is that? Say the Chazal, Harbe Rotzchem beGilad. A lot of murderers in Gilad, which is Ever Yarden. But if you're an intentional murderer, you can't go there anyway. Why would there be more murderers here than any place else? So I heard from Moshe Chait 50 years ago, give or take. He brought down this midrash. And he said, you're going out to do the Ktsir Chitim. You're going out to harvest the wheat. And you see flowers by the side of the road. And you think, hey, my mom would like those. But you had a mission. You had a derech. You knew where you were going. You knew what you were setting out to do. And you got distracted by what was the side of the road. Okay, your mother needed this. It was a fertility drug. It was going to help her. All the other wonderful things that you can say. But you got distracted by the shiny object by the side of the road. That was multiplied to the point that when Reuven and Gad were on their way to, well, God has a different agenda. We'll talk about God maybe another time when we get to Devarim. But Reuven sees Ever Yarden and he's like, yeah, this is good enough. I'll take this. And he's distracted by what's by the side of the road. And he takes that instead. That is the midah of impetuousness. That's what Yaakov Avinu saw when he says, Pachas kamayim. Yeah, you're impetuous. You do actions without thinking about it. And that's why the Ramban in Bamidbar, when he talks about the Machna, he says, Reuven is the midah of tshuva. Why? Because impetuousness leads to regret. You do things quickly without thinking, and the result of that is I feel bad afterwards, and then I have to do tshuva. What happened in Gilad? Why were there so many murderers? It was b'shogeg. They were driving too fast. They were climbing down the ladder too quickly. They were working and doing whatever it was without enough thought to what was going on around them. And that's what resulted in accidental death. It's part and parcel of the character of Shevet Ruvain that they tend to be impetuous, and that results in things that you then have to regret later. And so we should really stop and think before we do things. Look before you leap. As they say in carpentry, measure twice before you cut once. And make sure that you're doing what you want and not what you're impulsively deciding upon, so that you don't end up with that regret later on. Mitzvah Hashem. Shabbos.